Hello, Insomniacs, and welcome back to another episode of Hello, Insomnia. I will be your host yet again. My name is Steven, and with me today is the lovely Christy,
Hey everyone.
the awesome Galen,
Hey, how's it going?
and finally back from his trip, Mr. Jerry.
Hey, everybody.
He's Dr. Nick. All right.
Oh, is that him? I don't know. I just had that voice stuck in my head for so long.
Yeah. From The Simpsons, man. It's great. All right.
Simpsons
Today,
did it.
yeah, today we're actually going to pick up on our part 2 of the Changeling. We're going to get more in depth on it's an actual solved crime, which is a little unusual for us, but its story was very intense that I wanted to cover it. So today, for our first solved crime, we're going to do the case of Bridget Cleary, or I should say, the murder of Bridget Cleary. So this is to continue from our Changeling episode, which, if you haven't heard, please go back and listen to it. It's very good. Started off with a little nursery rhyme thing here. Are you a witch, or are you a fairy, or are you the wife of Michael Cleary? That was a jump rope rhyme that was made basically talking about this story. Like all
All old nursery rhymes are just like based off like very morbid stuff. Like
yes,
like Ring Around a Rosie is about
Mhm.
the burning of the bodies and the ashes falling down on you.
And let's dance on them.
That is.
yeah.
I was like, this is
Yeah.
terrible. Why are we singing this as like 6-year-olds?
Yeah.
Humanity is a little morbid. It's all gallows humor goes all the way back to, your childhood.
And that's it's the not rhyme that is equated with this story. So we're gonna just jump right back into it. So here's a little bit of the history of Bridget Bolin. She was born Bridget Bolin in 1869 in, gotta do this every time, Bella Valia, Ireland. I really hope I said that right. I probably butchered it. So please, again, forgive me, Ireland. In the county of Tipperary.
I want to say it's Ballivadelia.
Valdilia. It could be.
I don't know.
She married Michael Cleary in August 1887. The couple met in Clonmel in August 1887.
It's a great year.
Where Michael worked as a cooper. Now, a cooper is a person that is trained to make like wooden casks or barrels for like whiskey and just storage and stuff like that. So a lot of trading stuff that you use a cooper
Coffins?
to make things.
Can they make coffins?
Anything like woodworking type?
Yeah, but I think it's
Wood bending
specifically
stuff?
like, for the most part, like barrels and casks. But I mean, I would imagine a person handy with like wood carving tools can probably make a coffin.
Just hanging with Mr. Cooper here.
Yeah. If only he was a good guy like Mr. Cooper. But this guy
But he's got a rhyme for jump rope. He's got to be a great guy. Who wouldn't want to be his wife?
Oh, you might regret those words.
I don't like where that's going.
Anyway, so yeah, Michael worked as a cooper, and Bridget served as a dressmaker's apprentice. After their marriage, Bridget returned to her hometown of Bellavillia to live with her parents. So Michael stayed. Michael continued to work as a cooper in Clonmel, where they met, but she went to go live with her parents back in where she was born. During this period, living apart, Bridget's independence grew. she became somewhat of an entrepreneur. She began working and tending a flock of chickens, all while selling the eggs to the neighborhood, to her neighbors. And so, which is a little uncommon for the times. Like
Yeah.
a businesswoman,
That's
is kind of like unheard of in
Hell
this,
yeah,
selfishness.
Bridget.
So
Making that money.
she was a trendsetter. Like, she definitely
Let's go.
like made her own dresses. She also made hats, which I didn't write down.
Oh, that's cool.
But she made hats and dresses and sold eggs for money.
A successful woman. I can see where this is
She was
going.
a very
Yeah,
successful
right?
woman.
Can't do better than
Call it
me.
out. I like it. Let's go. Acquire that currency.
Yeah. So Bridget and Michael never had any children, which seemed a little odd. Seemed a little odd to the townsfolk. And since Michael still worked in Clonmel and throughout the week, he would often visit Bridget on the weekends. So they weren't really together a lot. They like only basically since he was working out of town, he'd come back visit. They would be together, and supposedly, it was a happy, good marriage type of thing. But it was very odd considering most marriages you're with your wife most of the time,
Yeah.
taking care of each other, that type of stuff. So the townspeople would gossip and things like that. Rumors would soon spread around town, implying that she was secretly seeing her neighbor, a man by the name of William Simpson, who was a unpopular 24-year-old man who was married with 2 children of his own.
Ooh, a little love triangle, huh?
Wow.
So
I like how they put unpopular. He's
It's
a loser.
What?
But he got married, so popular
A guy
enough
that's
to get
too dead.
married.
2 doors down. Yeah, that
Yeah.
Williamson. He's a loser.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's just because like the town didn't care for him. I don't know like why or what he did. I think he was just people just didn't like him. Young kid cheating on his wife, supposedly.
Didn't like him. Didn't like Bridget's success as an entrepreneur. I don't like
Yeah.
where this is going.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
Recipe
definitely
of disaster.
again, we talked about this in the other episode. When people are just a little bit different, people are either afraid of them or weary of them or talk shit about them. That's kind of like
Or claim they're a witch,
or
claim they're
claim they're
changeling.
witch,
Change
changeling.
the
And so just
Yes.
hold that thought. That's something that's gonna come into play here. So yeah, side note, yeah, these rumors were all speculation that made Michael or there was speculation that Michael was jealous of Bridget's success as a businesswoman, which I mean we kind of hinted on. Which because it wasn't very common for the era and the location in the world. So again, he's a little bit jealous because she's making money selling them eggs, selling the dresses and the hats and stuff. Like people would go to her because she was known to be able to accomplish the hats and dressmaking. And then if they obviously want food, she's got the chickens. She's selling
got
them
it
eggs.
all. She's doing it all.
And she only needs her husband like 2 days a week. Like, let's go, Bridget.
Independent as fuck. Let's
Yeah.
go.
Yeah, nowadays she would be known as the plug in the neighborhood. Hey, yo, I got the eggs. I got
What
the
you
dress.
need? What
I got
you
the
need?
hookup.
What
Let's
you got?
go.
Yeah, what you need?
So yeah, so there was a lot of that, and then I saw some reports. I didn't jot it down, but like some said she was a fairly attractive woman, so she did get like the attention of other men in the town and stuff like that, which probably would have added to the jealousy and stuff and things like that Michael was feeling. Again, speculation. I saw it on different reports, so it wasn't really like confirmed that this was happening. It was a lot of just like, some reports will say this happened, some didn't. So take that with a grain of salt. Sometime in their 8 years of marriage, because they've been married for a while now, Bridget's mother ends up passing away, and the Clearys found themselves like having to be responsible to take care of Bridget's father, an elderly man named Patrick Boland. And since they basically became the caretakers of Patrick, he became eligible to secure a new type of house that they were building in the community, which were these like newly type like furnished type houses. Like instead of the clay and stones and stuff, it actually looks like um, they're kind of made out of like cement and wood and stuff like that, like a common day house. So it wasn't like like a ramshackle shack and stuff. It actually looked really nice, and I put a picture in your guys' notes if you wanted to take a look.
Yeah, that's crazy. So it was like they were up. It was like the new upcoming type of house.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
So we're kind of upgrading here.
Yeah, like if you saw this house, you'd be like, "Oh shit, this person's got a mansion," because these are the nicer houses. Yeah. But Patrick was eligible to get these because they're available to only laborers, and since Patrick Bolin used to be a laborer in his youth, he basically had access to this house.
He got priority over others.
Yeah, and he wanted to get the house for his daughter and Michael, and so they ended up basically moving in, and Patrick was going to move in with them. Now there's some reports that Bridget's mother may have died before the father got the house, but again, it was kind of conflicting, so I don't really know whether like they got the house before she passed or after. But needless to say, the more important thing is that Patrick moved in with them into this new home. So besides having to be a laborer to secure the new house, a lot of people in the village they weren't interested in the house because it was built on the site of a supposed fairy fort, a ring fort. Now in Irish, a fairy ring fort,
like a like the fairy mound or whatever.
Yes. So in Irish folklore, it is believed that a fairy ring, or fairy ring forts, are a mystical place protected by the spells of druids. So like druid magic and stuff like that. The spells of druids, and they were homes of the fairies. So in these fairy rings, these forts, there's a lot of
it's like those rocks that's like placed in a circle, right?
Yes. Yeah. So you have like the walls that are like circled, rocks, either like it's built on like a mound, like Galen was saying, but you can noticeably tell the rings. Now in like folklore that I didn't cover in the Changeling episode is like you're not supposed to like pass through these things or go near them because it's considered bad luck. Like people thought if you disturb them, it would bring bad luck or something bad would happen to them. So, they wouldn't go near them. They wouldn't want to touch them. But it didn't stop the Clearys from moving into this new house. So, they kind of just brushed off the whole supernatural element or the fairy element. And they were like, well, this is a sweet home. Let's move in. And they did. So with that, though, let's kind of start getting into the events that led up to the murder.
Oh, damn. Okay.
Just to jump right into it. But that's kind of a little bit of the history of like where the story is taking place, and it's in the county of Tipperary. So it kind of gives you an idea of like what we're dealing with here. But the house was built in the mound, like around the mound.
That's so creepy. It's like poltergeist stuff.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know how you guys would feel about that. If you would move into like one of the nicest homes built on there. I mean, I probably would because it's a sweet house for the time.
I'm just saying this. If I move into if I'm in an area and there's a hella nice house, but no one wants to live into it, I'm going to ask questions before I move in.
Of course.
If I don't believe in Irish lore, it shouldn't affect me, right? I'd be like,
oh God, we're gonna lose all
that. The fairies.
No.
Sorry to our Irish listeners.
It's okay. You get a pass.
Oh my God,
you get a pass. All right, straight from the Irish blood.
Don't abuse it. All right. So on Monday, March 4th, in 1895. Bridget started her day like she did any other Monday, as she prepared for one of her egg deliveries for her father's cousin, a man by the name of Jack Dunn. On the way to Jack's house, she had to pass by one of these ring forts, one of these fairy rings, which she was they fascinated her. She actually liked them. She didn't like dislike them, or she wasn't afraid of them. And it was said that supposedly she would leave small offerings for the fairies and things like that, just because she found them fascinating. Again, that could be some speculation. I've seen that in a couple different articles.
What would she like leave?
It probably like eggs or
Little
like
bread.
flowers, things like that.
Okay.
Just offerings, just to kind of pay respects.
Gotcha.
That's what I interpreted it as.
A shot of Irish whiskey,
I mean,
An
maybe if she
Irish
had it on
coffee.
hand.
some Jameson.
Okay, Jerry.
Upon arrival at Jack's house, she found out that he wasn't there, and so she decided to wait for him in the cold. So, some more backstory. Like this in 1895, I guess it was recorded to be one of the coldest winters. So leading up into like the end of February, and like all the snow is kind of like starting to melt, but it's still pretty cold in come March, and like wet and damp and stuff like that. So she was waiting out in the cold for Jack Dunn, and he's not there. He's not showing up. Jack unfortunately never showed up, and after getting colder and colder by the minute, Bridget decided to, walk the mile and a half back to her house, where when she got home, she, got by the fire, tried to warm up, but she still felt cold and sick because she's been out there for, hours, like just waiting for this guy, Jack, to deliver the eggs and everything. And by the time Michael arrived back from work and got home, she told him she didn't feel very good, and she went to bed. Bridget fell ill, and she got very sick, like fast. So I'm assuming hypothermia, and led to some other ailments. Probably caught a cold or something.
COVID-4.
Maybe, if that was a thing.
No, OG COVID, let's go.
An OG Irish COVID.
Yeah, number 4.
Number 4.
So like after about a week of her feeling sick, Michael and after about a week, both Patrick and Michael had made separate trips to the nearest town, just days after each other. So one day Michael went, or Patrick went, her father, tried to summon the local doctor. No luck, basically. Couldn't find the doctor, couldn't get the doctor to show up. Patrick makes this journey back home, which was like, I think I read like 30 miles away. So you got to think, they're going to this far to find the nearest doctor, bring him back, or whatever, and just to get him to come see her. The doctor didn't show up the next day, or like a couple days after. It was like really frequent. Michael was like, screw this, I'm going. I need to, take care of my wife. He goes to find the local doctor. He finds the doctor. The doctor is like, he'll come to see Bridget when he, as soon as he can, that type of thing. Michael comes back, and more than a week into her illness, so you got to remember, she got sick March 4th, right? On March 13th, 1995, the physician finally
1895.
Or excuse me, yeah, 1895.
I was like, whoa.
This happened like 30 years ago.
Time travel is real now.
Whoa. The physician finally visits Bridget in her home. The doctor told Michael that he thinks she has bronchitis, and he like prescribed her some medicine. Like, get this medicine, it should help. But by this time, she's very sick. Like, she's not getting out of bed. She's, kind of staying bedridden, not doing much, barely eating, like, normal stuff of like when you have bronchitis or a common cold type
Just
shit.
coughing a lot.
Yeah. So Bridget's condition soon worsened, and word spread that Bridget was very sick, and many people went to go visit her and just kind of like, see how she's doing, check up on her. Even it was reported that even a priest came to perform her last rites. Like, she was looking pretty bad. Michael grew impatient and like nothing seemed to be working. Trying to get the medicine for the doctor didn't seem like it was working. By this time, and I forgot to mention that when he went to go get the medicine for Bridget, he ran into Jack Dunn, and Jack Dunn was, he promised to go see Bridget, but as he was visiting Bridget, he kind of like convinced Michael that something's not right about her. You might want to go see a fairy doctor, and he kind of came to this conclusion because while they were visiting, like other people were visiting, like Bridget would tell other people, because she was still like able to speak and stuff. Like she would talk. She told, I believe it was like her cousin, and I don't know the cousin's name. I didn't write it down, but like that she kind of got sick after passing that fairy heal, and the fairy doctor, if you guys remember from our last episode, is like an elder woman, usually a female, who's
prescribed
kinda
poison.
prescribe
Let's call it what
different
it is.
type of cures and for ailments and stuff of like supernatural and fairies.
It's like a witch doctor.
Basically, exactly like a witch doctor. So this guy Jack Dunn convinces Michael, and after talking to some visitors, that Bridget wasn't herself, and maybe you should try visiting this fairy doctor. Michael at this point is starting to convince himself, after talking to Jack Dunn, who's a very superstitious man, that maybe she is starting to become a changeling. Like maybe this isn't Bridget. She's no longer herself. And so he goes to the fairy doctor. The fairy doctor prescribes Bridget 9 special herbs, which probably included the foxglove and some other harmful shit.
That's like the secret recipe for KFC's chicken, right?
Yeah.
The 9 special herbs and spices.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
Delicious.
S&Ps for me.
But these herbs may be harmful to some humans.
Just a couple of people.
So is
Like
KFC.
That's fair enough, Jerry. Fair enough. So the nine special herbs and to mix them with the milk of a cow who's just given birth. So basically a new mothered cow, and to mix them. And this concoction is a way to get rid of the fairies. So Michael, in his delusional mind, gathered the milk, gathered the herbs, mixed them all together, and started forcing Bridget to drink it. Even though she didn't like the taste of the mixture. I mean, who would when you're using like poisonous plants and shit like that? But he was forcing. This is where like his anger started to come out. He started forcing her to drink this mixture, and she didn't like it. Several home remedies and superstitious rituals were administered. So like Michael's just straight up jumping into the to Crazy Town and trying to try these different rituals. Her father and her husband would accuse Bridget of being a fairy. The entire time they would scream at Bridget, trying to get the fairy to reveal itself by revealing its name or age, like we talked about in the previous episode. So basically emotionally battering this woman and screaming at her. She was doused in urine. So imagine that you're just getting screamed at by your father and your husband, because by this point everybody's convinced that she's not who she says she is.
Gross.
They think she's a changeling. So they're dousing her.
Man.
Imagine getting urine thrown in your face while people are screaming at you.
How you like that, fairy? Huh? Take some of this.
The fuck?
They started burning her with hot pokers and burning pieces of wood from the fireplace, because another thing we forgot to go over in that other one is like that's a way to get rid of them. Hot pokers and fire. Fire
Fairies
scares
don't like
fairies.
hot, right?
Yeah, so
Humans don't either.
it makes them uncomfortable.
Makes me uncomfortable, but
Oh man, I mean anybody I think with fire burning your skin and stuff. So they
Just
started
melting your skin a little.
torturing her.
Yeah, what?
So imagine that, like
just
You
because
know-
you're
Started.
sick.
They've been torturing her.
no, but like physically. So like
Let's just
before it's
up
like
it then.
emotionally and
Damn.
mentally abuse, which is still abuse. I don't want to take that away. Like that is
Yeah.
abuse. But the abuse started to change. They're starting to like poke her with these hot iron, fire pokers and like threatening her to like hit her with burning pieces of wood. I mean, not necessarily her, because at this point they're all thinking she's a changeling. She's one of the fairy folk. And like, could you imagine getting burned and then urine dumped on you? Like that's got to lead to some type of infection or something. You know what I mean? Who knows? Like I didn't see a report saying it was human urine or like the cow's urine. You know what I mean? But either way, it's disgusting. So, continuously forcing her to drink this milk and herb concoction, which can't be very good for her. They dragged her out of bed, dangerously close to the fireplace. So, all this to say, these are the type of things that was happening to her. Growing frustrated with the very sick and very tortured Bridget, Michael tried to feed his wife the concoction one last time. Bridget pleaded with Michael, and Michael, like in a menacing way, threw her to the ground near the fireplace. At this point, I'm not too sure if it's confirmed. Just as a side note, but in some reports it said that Bridget hit her head when she hit the ground, which she may or may not have been unconscious for this next part. She may have died from it, but again, it's kind of not 100% confirmed. So just take it with a grain of salt. So during the fall, Bridget's charmise, which is hope I'm saying that. Chemise is it's a one-piece
chemise.
Woman's undergarment, like some type of like nightgown, I'm assuming. But it caught fire, and it started to burn her. Like it wasn't like
Dear Lord.
fully spread, but it was ablaze. Like it started. Michael, in his delusional rage, was yelling at Bridget, asking her like, "Who are you? Are you the wife of Michael Cleary? Are you a changeling?" That type of stuff, and just yelling at her. Due to Bridget's possible unconsciousness, or just not responding, saying I'm your wife, and pleading to Michael. In a rage, he threw a kerosene lamp onto Bridget, basically burning her to death, is what is assumed.
Holy shit.
So remember, this started on the
Dear
4th.
Lord.
It is now March 16th. Rumors were beginning to circulate that, just to go back a little bit, there are people in this house while this is going down. Like there's guests.
What?
There are
just
people
standing there?
in and out. Yeah. So the father, Patrick,
They're just watching.
some of her family members and friends are in the house. Like they're in the house. So whether they're in the
Do
living
they
room
know?
and in the
Or is she like in a basement?
no, she's in the bedroom. She's in the bedroom next to basically the living room. If you want to just like monetize it, like I don't know if it was just an open room, but she's in the bedroom. People are in the living room and in and out of the room trying to, all do these rituals to try to bring, because like they say that Michael could have been affected by oh damn it, what is it called? It's like a disorder where the mass hysteria will go to other people as well.
What
So
the
they
heck?
think that this may have like infected the other people to like going along with all this torture and like not say anything or intervene.
Jeez.
So there was people in the house when this stuff was going down. So March 16th, rumors began to circulate that Bridget was missing, and the local police began searching for her. Michael was quoted as claiming that his wife had been taken by fairies. So he's going around town telling people that his wife was taken by fairies and all this stuff. And he appeared to be holding a vigil at his house. Witnesses' statements were gathered over the ensuing week, and by the time they found Bridget's burnt corpse, it was in a shallow grave, and they found it March 22nd. So from the 4th to the 16th, you know, Bridget was supposedly alive because the 16th they said that, you know, they were having a visual, and you know she was just missing. And on the 22nd, the constables or police officers, I'm not really sure, I think it's constables in Ireland, found a shallow grave with her burnt corpse. 9 people were being charged in her disappearance, including her husband. And in a coroner's inquest came back the next day after they found the body, and the verdict was death by burning. So they concluded that she had died by burning.
Jeez, that's so crazy. What the heck?
So that torture went on for that long. Her being missing, her body being missing, with these people that knew the truth, went on for days at a time. There was some reports that the fairy doctor had told Michael that he had a certain amount of time to get Bridget back by like midnight on like the 9th day of her being sick or quote unquote possessed or whatever. But there was conflicting things. Like I saw it on some reports and some I didn't, so I kind of left it out. But that's also another thing.
That's interesting. So there's like a time limit.
Yeah, so like that's why it was kind of like rushed, like the vigils and things like that. But anyway, I got some trial stuff for the outcome. Legal hearings ran from the 1st to the 6th of April, 1895. A 10th person had been charged, and one of the original 9 was discharged at this stage, leaving 9 defendants bound over the trial. The court sessions began on the 3rd of July, and the grand jury indicted 5 of the defendants for murder: Michael Cleary, Patrick Boland, Mary Kennedy, James Kennedy, Patrick Kennedy, and all 9 were indicted on charges of wounding, which I didn't get the definition of wounding, but I think that's like causing, is it malice aforethought or maiming, stuff like that. It has to do with like hurting a person, basically.
Mayhem.
It might be mayhem. That might be right. So the case proceeded to go to trial. Evidence was shown that on March 15th, just to go back, Michael had summoned the Father Ryan, which was the priest that gave Bridget Cleary her last rites, back to the Cleary household. Ryan found that Bridget was alive but agitated. And Michael had told the priest that he had not been giving his wife the medicine prescribed by the doctor the whole time, and because he had no faith in it.
Wow.
So this sumbitch was told by a doctor to get this medicine, and he refused to give it to her.
No, I'm gonna do this fairy doctor.
Yeah, I'm gonna just go with this fairy doctor because my superstitions are telling me otherwise.
Fairy doctor knows what's up.
Yeah. According to Ryan, the pastor or the priest, Cleary then said people may have some remedies of their own that might do more good than the doctor's medicine. So hinting at the fairy doctor stuff or something to that effect. Bridget was given communion, and Ryan departed. So because I believe it's assumed by now that Bridget was either Catholic or Christian. So he did the last rites and stuff because at this point the priest thinks that she's gonna pass from her illness and not torture because he doesn't really know what's going on. So the witnesses were unclear to whether or not she was dead when she was thrown to the floor and possibly hit her head. Michael kept the others back while the body was burning. So imagine that. So when she was thrown to the ground and possibly hit her head, the witnesses weren't sure that she was dead or not. But then he throws the fire on her. She's burning. They don't know if she was dead beforehand or after the fact. So just to kind of clear that up a little bit.
Gotcha.
So yeah, but Michael kept them back from either putting the fire out or just helping her, insisting that she was a changeling and she had been a changeling for a week previously, and that this was the only way to get his wife back from the fairies was to kill this one, aka talking about Bridget, and that his wife would magically just come waltzing back to him. Like that was his belief. He was so hardcore into believing that by killing this one, or since no other method worked, once she died, her actual self would come back from the fairy circles.
What?
Jeez.
So as part of the trial, the jury was actually led out to the storage building where Bridget's body had been held for burial. So it's where they stashed her before they could bury the body, and where it was available for viewing. So they actually saw the body. The jury
Brought in the body and everything.
The jury was given the opportunity to see the condition of the body and the extent of her injuries, as well as a personal verify that the body was indeed Bridget by looking upon her face. What the jury witnessed was outbuilding convinced them that the horrible sufferings Bridget had endured prior to death. So them seeing how her body was, it was easy for them to like come to a conclusion like this is what she endured prior to death. I think they went to go see where they recovered the body, as well as the body itself. Charges against one of the co-defendants, William Ahern, I think that's how you pronounce it, were dropped. He was somebody that was in and out of the house, and 3 others was also dropped. So like they were probably there like witnesses, but they weren't. They didn't participate in any of the torture.
It's like, yeah, I saw it.
Yeah, which is a little weird. I don't know if they actually seen the burning go down or anything like that. But I would like to think if they did and they didn't
Feel like they
say
could've smelled
anything,
it.
they're just as guilty.
There's 9 people in that house.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
So these people were basically let go with no charges. They were deemed free of any crime.
That's terrible.
Yeah.
They could have helped her at any
Yeah,
point
because
in time
at this time
her help.
it seems like it's a lot of hearsay. Like, these people were all in the building. They all saw this, that type of thing. But I don't know who the other 3 were, but this William Hearn guy, or Hearn, he was noted, so I added him on here. As for John Dunn, Michael Kennedy, William Kennedy, they were convicted of wounding because I believe these guys were the ones that would hold Bridget down. John Dunn was the one that convinced Michael Cleary to like go see the fairy doctor, and he participated in the rituals because he was a superstitious dude.
Okay, I just looked up what wounding is out of curiosity. It says inflicting grievous bodily harm to a person, and it's mostly in the UK thing, and the European. That's their like law.
Okay. Do we have something equivalent to that in the States?
Mm,
Is it mayhem? Would that be?
Richard. I I think it might be mayhem.
Okay, yeah, because I know there is something for that. I just don't know off the top of my head. Uh, so apparently this whole Kennedy family was very highly involved. I think I can't remember if they were friends or family. Like they could have been cousins to the Miss Cleary, which actually I'm gonna go ahead and just refer to her as Miss Bridget Bolin because that's her maiden name.
Or the fairy.
Yeah,
The
but
fairy.
John, yeah, so John Dunn, all them. Patrick Kennedy was sentenced to 5 years in penal servitude, so
Yeah.
he went to jail. Michael Kennedy was sentenced to 6 months of hard labor. So
6 months.
yeah, James Kennedy was sentenced to 18 months of hard labor. William Kennedy was sentenced to 18 months of hard labor. Mary Kennedy was released owing to her age and frailty. So I think she was young. She must have been like, we'll just say for the sake of the story, under 18. If that makes sense. Patrick Bolin, the father of Bridget, was sentenced to 6 months of hard labor. John Dunn, the guy who basically started all this bullshit and convinced Michael, was sentenced to 3 years in a penal servitude. Michael Cleary, uh, the husband of the year, was found guilty of manslaughter and sentenced to 20 years of penal servitude. He spent only 15 years in prison. He was released from Maryborough, which is now Port Lousy. I don't know how to say that. Anybody want to give that a try?
Port Louis.
Portalois, maybe
Portalois.
Portalois
Yeah.
prison.
Port Louis.
Yeah, he was released in Portalois prison, or from Portalois prison, um, April 28th, 1910. So remember, all this took place 1895. He gets out 15 years later, 1910, where it's reported that he moved to the English city of Liverpool. And then from there, he immigrated to Canada of July of the same year.
That's crazy. I feel like that time did not fit the crime.
Yeah.
Like it should have been way
That's
more.
it. That's all her life was worth.
Yeah.
That's so
She-
fucking dumb.
She was like 25 or 26 years old. She wasn't very old. I believe Michael Cleary was only like, he was like 9 years older than her. But still, so you got to think Michael's in his 30s, right?
Yeah.
Just about. He spends 15 years, he comes back, he's still got a whole life ahead of him, where Bridget is dead now. And her, let's say she's 26. That's not even a long time to be alive, let alone the way she died.
Yeah.
Was just disturbing in so many ways. You know what I mean? The constant emotional abuse that she suffered, with him constantly calling her a fairy and trying to get her to admit it. Which, even if you're innocent, you can't admit. Like if you try to admit it, like I'm who I say I am. They're not going to believe you. They're just going to keep up the batter. The burning, the torturing, dousing in urine, which is so disturbing.
Yeah, dude. It's just so fucked.
Like this poor woman who was ahead of her time, I'm gonna go ahead and say, because she's the entrepreneur, very successful.
Yeah, ran her own business, didn't need the husband.
She was taken far too soon, and it seems like all this whole Kennedy family that was there, for them only to get, maybe a little over a year, a little less,
Hard labor.
just hard labor. Like you're just working, but you were there. You said nothing. You did nothing when this woman was murdered. It's complete and utter bullshit.
It straight up is. I can't believe that. It's just crazy to me. And it's like, They held her for so long and did all this stuff to her, and then this fool's just walking out 15 years later, like la di da di da.
Yeah, yeah. Just complete and utter bullshit. I feel like even though Michael went to jail for 15 years, some of these other like John Dunn should have been in prison for longer than 3 years.
Hell
The
yeah.
father, Patrick Bolin, he was participating in the torture. Like, I know it's her father, but dude, you killed your daughter. You helped kill your daughter.
Yeah.
Like, you deserve to go for longer than hard labor for 6 months.
Yeah, that's insanity. I can't believe that. It's just my mind can't wrap around it.
Yeah, it's very difficult. Like, and this is why I wanted to touch on this story specifically, because it's baffling that people she knew didn't step in. Her own father, you know what I mean, didn't step in. And it's not like Bridget was hated amongst the town, you know what I mean? Dad belonged to William, whatever his name is. Uh, he was disliked in the town, but like nobody said anything. Everybody was just cool. And then finally, when they finally decided to file a missing persons report, she had already been dead for over like 5 days. And then they found her body the 7th day after that. You know what I mean? Like on the 22nd.
Imagine if they didn't even get caught for that. How fucked that would be.
Yeah, like whether or not the doctor's medicine would have worked and brought her back, because she was very sick. Like, even if it didn't and she had passed away that way, like the outcome would have been the same, but you wouldn't have been torturing this woman her final days. And maybe she could have came back. Maybe the medicine would that the doctor prescribed, but you went to, a witch doctor, a fairy doctor,
Because he was superstitious.
because of superstition.
It's hella fucking true. I mean, look at witches. Look
Superstition's
at
killed.
all the fucked up
Yeah,
shit.
true.
Ugh.
It is true.
Yeah, I mean, you have stuff like that. You have the witch hunts. You have the murdering of wolves because people believed in werewolves. The digging up of bodies because people believed in vampires. You know what I mean? Like, this stuff all happened in history, and it's astonishing how much humans in general will believe things like this. And then not like believing in it is fine if as long as you don't take it a step further and commit crimes based off these beliefs. Like if you believe in fairies, that's fine. Whatever. That's you're right. You can do that. When you start murdering people because you believe they're a fairy, that's when you have issues.
Yeah, and honestly, it's just like it makes me think because I used to when the Ren Fair was still open before like COVID and all this. When I go there, I'd like go to the Ren Fair, with my girlfriend, and we'd go see those little like fairy caves. And at first, like I'm like, yeah, these are awesome, these are beautiful. But now I'm looking back, and I'm like, oh my god, that's so like it has like a
How many
way
people got
different
murdered
meaning.
because of
Yeah.
it? Yeah.
way different meaning now.
Like, dude,
Not supposed to pass it.
they would have burned everybody. You know what I mean? They would have killed everybody that's even interacted with those fairy rings, or just fairies in general. Anybody they believed had fairy connection would have been done. Yeah,
Yeah, I just think of
That's
that
so
rhyme you
true.
said at the beginning. Are you a witch or are you a fairy? Because it doesn't matter. They're going to burn you all the same,
Yeah.
dude.
yeah. But that is the story, the unfortunate murder of Bridget Cleary, guys.
Damn.
All right.
So, man, that one's a tough one, man.
Yeah, it is.
That one's a tough one.
Definitely a tough story.
God.
I can't believe, and that's all like documented too.
Yeah,
right?
no, yeah. This case is well
Oh, yeah.
documented. I mean, I was able to pull up pictures, which hopefully we can probably post on our Instagram,
Oh, absolutely.
of Michael Cleary, and I couldn't really find a good picture of Bridget, but I did find something. It's a little blurry, but it works. But yeah, no, it's a horrible way. You know what I mean? Like I think jealousy played a part into it. Like I
Oh, yeah.
think
Because
Michael,
she was out there making all the money, getting all the attention. He was bitter at home. Like, shit.
because it was reported too, like she was the primary breadwinner.
She was the breadwinner.
She was killing it by the sounds of it.
Yeah, dude, she's killing the game.
She should have just killed him, and
But
then she's
back in
because like, damn girl.
Yeah, like
but back in the day, it's gonna be like they're gonna look down on like, oh, Michael's just a stay-at-home dad. Or
no, well,
something?
you know, he was
a Cooper. He was just in a whole other city.
yeah, he was working in a different city throughout the week, and then he would just come to see her during the weekends. So, but while all this was going down, he never left her side because, you know, I mean, he's taking care of his wife. He's trying to be what he thinks is a good husband, but in reality, he led him down a dark path where he's torturing because he had influences like John Dunn, who's like convincing, like, hey, that's not your wife. This is a changeling. And then go see this crazy doctor that's going to tell you to give, you know, poisonous herbs to her, probably
Yeah,
making
in
her
milk.
worse. And then, yeah, in milk, like,
Ugh.
like
Fuck.
that's just like, yeah, that foxglove poisoning was very common with cases like this. Of you know, give foxglove, which is a poisonous flower, Jerry, to humans, and it's just gonna make conditions worse. But that's what it was.
That's so crazy.
I mean, you guys have anything else? Like any other questions or anything before we wrap up this episode? I mean,
So stay away from Tinkerbell.
I
Yeah.
know this one was going to be more depressing than the last one, but like, great job, Steven.
yeah.
Damn.
Sorry,
Yeah,
Dude,
the two back to back, you know,
Ah,
depressing
this was-
episodes, but
this was great stuff. You did a lot of research, man. That's some information right there and facts. It's just crazy to think like this is documented stuff, you know. It's like the cases where it's like paranormal activity, but it's like coming from like police and like, you know, the, you know, documents of like hospitals and stuff or child protective services where they're like, yeah, we witnessed that stuff. And it's just like, this is documented fairy like belief, like people thinking like, oh, I need to kill for fairies and stuff, or like kill because of fairies.
like it went to court, so there's court documents and things like that, like records of it. There's books, other, like, again, like going back to my sources, you know, I used the like Solved Murders podcast. They did like I want to say a 2-part episode on changelings and Bridget Cleary as well. Very good information. A couple of YouTube videos. You had the Shrouded Hand, the changelings video.
I remember there is like a visual episode on this on Lore.
Yes.
If you ever have
I was
that.
just about to bring that up. Actually, we might end up watching that. I do recommend that one. It is very good. It is acted out. So they basically have this whole like scenario acted out by actors, and then you have the narrator for the podcast giving the narrations and stuff too in between. It's a very good episode. Check it out. It's on Amazon Prime, I believe. So yeah, check that out. That was the story of Bridget Cleary. And with that being said, you know, thank you guys all for joining us for this episode of Hello Insomnia. You know, for myself, Christy, Galen, and Jerry, appreciate you guys being here. And you guys have a wonderful day. Try not to let this keep you up at night.
Sleep well.
Have a good one.
Later.